The gavel slammed down like a guillotine, echoing through the marble halls of the Capitol. But it was the whisper from the gallery that sliced Joseph's heart clean in two. "Your mother's legacy ends tonight, because of you." He gripped the wooden railing until his knuckles bleached white, the weight of 1,000 eyes boring into him, not as the prodigal son returning, but as the traitor who'd just outed himself on live national television. In that frozen instant, as the camera flashes popped like gunfire, Joseph realized the golden boy his mother had paraded for years was nothing but fool's gold, shining until the first crack of truth exposed the rot beneath. Joseph Harlan had always been the architect of his own gilded cage. Born into the shadow of Senator Eliza Harlan's unyielding ambition, he'd grown up in the manicured suburbs of Arlington, Virginia, where every blade of grass was clipped to perfection and every family dinner doubled as a strategy session for her next election cycle. Eliza, never mom in public, always the senator, had molded him from the start. "You're my golden son," she'd say, her voice a velvet whip, as she adjusted his tie before school photos or prepped him for debate club victories. At 18, he'd followed her blueprint: Yale on a legacy admit, internships on the Hill that turned into junior staffer gigs, and a wardrobe of Brooks Brothers suits that screamed future statesman. By 25, he was her right-hand man, whispering policy tweaks in her ear during committee hearings, the perfect heir to her empire of conservative values and iron-fisted bipartisanship. But beneath the pressed collars and polished smiles, Joseph harbored a secret that gnawed at him like termites in old oak. It started in freshman year at Yale, in the dim glow of a library chorale, when a stolen glance at his roommate, broad-shouldered, easy-laughing Ethan, ignited something primal and terrifying. They'd never crossed that line, but the what-ifs haunted Joseph's dreams, twisting into nightmares of headlines. Harlan airs hidden shame. He buried it deep, dating women from the right sororities, attending church brunches with Eliza's evangelical donors, and volunteering for anti-LGBTQ+ bills that made his stomach churn. Family values. Eliza would toast at fundraisers, her arms slung around his shoulders. Start at home. The fracture came on a humid August night in 2024, during the Democratic National Convention's afterglow. Eliza was riding high. Her keynote on unity in division had gone viral, positioning her as the party's moderate powerhouse for a potential 2028 run. Joseph, fresh from a policy fellowship at Brookings, was her golden ticket to youth appeal. They were at a rooftop gala in Chicago, the city skyline glittering like a promise, when he met Cameron Reyes. Cameron was everything Joseph wasn't: unapologetically alive, with sun-kissed skin from his Mexican-American roots, a mop of curly black hair that defied any comb, and eyes like polished obsidian that saw straight through facades. A rising photojournalist for The Intercept, Cameron had snuck into the gala on a press pass, his camera slung low like a rebel's holster. He was there to capture the hypocrisy, the champagne toasts masking backroom deals, but when their paths crossed at the bar, it was Joseph's quiet plea for a refill that sparked it. "Rough night saving the world?" Cameron teased, his voice a warm drawl laced with Chicago edge, sliding a whiskey neat across the polished oak. Joseph laughed, a real one, the kind that bubbled up from his chest and surprised him. More like polishing it. "My mother's the one with the halo." They talked for hours, the city lights blurring into irrelevance. Cameron shared stories of his abuela's tamales and the border town vigils he'd photographed, his passion for truth-telling a stark contrast to Joseph's rehearsed platitudes. Joseph, emboldened by the liquor and the anonymity of the crowd, confessed fragments. The pressure of being Eliza Harlan's shadow, the speeches he wrote that twisted his gut. By midnight, as fireworks cracked over Lake Michigan, Cameron's hand brushed Joseph's, a deliberate graze that sent electricity arcing through him. "You deserve to breathe, man," Cameron murmured, close enough for Joseph to smell the faint citrus of his cologne. Not just exist. They exchanged numbers under the pretense of networking, but Joseph's phone burned in his pocket all flight home. Texts turned to calls to late-night FaceTimes where Cameron's grin lit up Joseph's sterile DC apartment. For the first time, Joseph felt seen not as a prop, but as a man with cracks and dreams and desires that didn't fit the script. Fall deepened into a clandestine rhythm. Weekends stolen in Cameron's Wicker Park walk-up, where vinyl records spun Fleetwood Mac and they cooked carnitas that filled the air with cumin and laughter. Joseph's first kiss was tentative, born in the soft rain of an October afternoon, Cameron's lips tasting of salt and possibility. "I've wanted this since Chicago," Joseph whispered against his neck, hands trembling as they mapped uncharted skin. Cameron pulled him closer, fierce and tender. "Then take it. It's yours, but secrets in DC. Our currency," and Joseph started leaking. A blurry photo from a dive bar in Adams Morgan. Him and Cameron sharing a booth, shoulders touching, landed in a Gossip Rags tip line. Eliza's chief of staff, a hawkish woman named Margaret who'd known Joseph since diapers, intercepted it. "We squash this now," she hissed in Eliza's office, the image projected like evidence in a trial. Eliza's face hardened, her blue eyes mirror to Joseph's, flashing with calculation. "My son? With that? Is a phase. Stress from the campaign. We'll get him help." The help arrived via a discreet appointment at a Virginia clinic specializing in reparative therapy. Joseph arrived expecting a pep talk, but the leather-bound office reeked of old money and older prejudices. Dr. Ellis, a silver-tongued psychologist with a framed photo of Reagan on his desk, leaned forward. "Elective identity disorder," he diagnosed, citing studies Joseph knew were debunked. "We can realign you, Joseph. For your mother's sake, and yours." Betrayal hit like iced tea at a state dinner. Polite, but scalding. Eliza waited in the car outside, her driver idling. When Joseph emerged, pale and shaking, she didn't hug him. "This is for your future," she said, voice steel. "The world isn't kind to boys who chase shadows." That night, alone in his Georgetown row house, Joseph scrolled through Cameron's texts, emojis of hearts and fists, promises of escape. He typed, deleted, typed again, "I love you. But I can't. Send." The words hung there, a digital guillotine. Winter clamped down on DC, the Potomac freezing into a silver scar. Joseph's days blurred into a mechanical haze, drafting bills on traditional marriage protections, smiling for donor selfies, while nights dissolved into fevered dreams of Cameron's touch. The therapy sessions dragged on, Ellis probing with questions that felt like scalpels. "What makes you think this? Attraction isn't a rebellion against your mother's success." Joseph nodded through it, the golden sun tarnishing from within. Eliza's pressure mounted. Holiday galas became interrogations disguised as toasts. "Find a nice girl, Joseph. Like that intern from last summer, Emily? She's interning at State now, at the Kennedy Center." Amid strings of Vivaldi, she cornered him in a powder room, her reflection flawless in the mirror. You're throwing away everything I've built. For what? A fling with some photographer? It's not a fling, he shot back, voice cracking. It's who I am. Her slap was light, a mother's correction, but it stung like wire. Who you are is Harlan. Don't make me choose between you and the party. The choice came sooner than either anticipated. In January 2025, a leak hit the wires. Anonymous sources claiming Senator Harlan's son entangled in scandalous affair with activist journalist. Pundits pounced, Fox calling it family values hypocrisy. MSNBC a brave stand against conversion quackery. Eliza's approval ratings dipped 5 points overnight. Her 2026 re-election committee in panic mode. She called an emergency summit in her McLean estate, the dining room a war cabinet of aides, lawyers, and Joseph, seated like a defendant. We deny, Margaret declared, slamming a folder of NDAs. Joseph, you'll issue a statement. Confusion, resolved, recommitted to faith-based counseling. And if I don't? Joseph's voice was a ghost. Eliza's gaze was arctic. Then you're on your own. No trust fund, no job, no name. He walked out into the snow-swept driveway, the cold biting his unbuttoned coat. Cameron's voicemail waited, saw the news. I'm here. Come to Chicago. Joseph hailed a cab to Union Station, boarding the Cardinal Line north with nothing but a duffel and a heart pounding like a war drum. Chicago welcomed him with a brutal wind off the lake, but Cameron's arms were a harbor. They tumbled into bed that first night, bodies frantic with reunion, whispers of, I thought I'd lost you mingling with gasps. You didn't, Cameron vowed, tracing Joseph's collarbone. We're in this. Spring thawed the ice, but not the storm. Eliza's machine revved up, private investigators digging into Cameron's past, whispers to donors about the boy's instability. Joseph's phone buzzed with blocked numbers, old friends ghosting, Yale alumni retracting invites. At a rare call from Eliza, her tone was honeyed poison. Come home, son. We can fix this. Therapy works. I've seen testimonials. It's brainwashing, Mom. And I won't. Silence. Then you're dead to me. The words echoed as Joseph hung up, the line a severed umbilical. Summer 2025 baked Chicago into a pressure cooker, the humidity mirroring the tension coiling in Joseph's veins. He and Cameron had carved out a fragile idol in a Logan Square loft, exposed brick walls adorned with Cameron's framed prints of protest marches and sunsets over the Magnificent Mile. Joseph freelanced policy analysis for progressive think tanks, his bylines a quiet rebellion, while Cameron's bylines in The Guardian and NPR chipped away at the Harlan mythos. Their love was a bonfire. Mornings tangled in sheets scented with coffee and sweat, evenings on the fire escape sharing stories of what-ifs. Imagine a world where you didn't have to hide, Cameron would say, his head on Joseph's lap, fingers interlacing like puzzle pieces. But DC's long arms stretched far. In July, a subpoena arrived courtesy of Eliza's legal sharks, demanding Joseph's return for a family intervention under the guise of estate planning. She's cutting you out, the accompanying letter read, cold as a foreclosure notice. Cameron found him staring at it over breakfast, cereal soggy in the bowl. Fuck her, Cameron growled, crumpling the paper. We're building our own legacy, yet doubt festered. Joseph's mirror showed a man fraying at the edges, dark circles from sleepless nights, a jaw unclenched for the first time in years but now grinding with fresh anxiety. Therapy had scarred him deeper than he'd admitted. Ellis's sessions replayed in flashes, voices urging him to pray the feelings away. Cameron noticed, pulling him close during thunderstorms. "You're not broken, Joe. You're just you." The betrayal deepened at Labor Day, when Joseph's estranged father, long absent, a Wall Street ghost who'd bailed after the divorce, surfaced via email. "Your mother's unhinged. But blood's blood. Meet me in New York. We can broker peace." Desperate for any tether to normalcy, Joseph went, leaving Cameron with a kiss and a promise. One night. That's it. The Four Seasons penthouse overlooked Central Park, a shrine to excess. Richard Harlan, silver-foxed and Scotch-scented, greeted him with a bear hug that felt like quicksand. "Son, you've got her fire misplaced, but there." Over steaks at Del Frisco's, he spun a tale of reconciliation, Eliza's overreaction to polls, a family therapist in Connecticut who specialized in high-profile reconciliations. "Sign the NDA. Due 6 months. You'll be back in the fold by Christmas. Trust fund intact." Joseph's fork paused midair. "And Cameron?" Richard's laugh was a bark. "The photographer? Collateral. These things pass." It was these things that shattered it, a dismissal of love as a footnote. Joseph stormed out into the neon haze of Times Square, hailing a train back west, the subway's rattle syncing with his pulse. Cameron met him at Union Station at dawn, eyes shadowed but steady. "You okay?" "No," Joseph admitted, collapsing into him. "But I'm yours." October brought the high holy days of politics, midterms. Eliza's campaign ads blanketed battleground states, her face a beacon of steady leadership. Joseph's name was scrubbed, replaced by stock photos of all-American families. But Cameron, ever the archivist, unearthed the erasure in a viral thread. Before the whitewash, Eliza Harlan's golden son now ghosted. Retweets snowballed, Goldenson trending, protesters gathering outside her D.C. office with signs. "Love wins, even for Harlan's." Eliza retaliated with a presser from the Capitol steps, rain-slicked and resolute. "My family is private. Speculation hurts us all." Off camera, her team unleashed hell. Smears on Cameron as a radical agitator. Anonymous tips to IC about his abuela's undocumented status. Joseph's phone lit up with warnings from old colleagues. "She's gunning for deportation. Get him out." Panic clawed at them. They spent nights huddled over legal aid hotlines, Cameron's bravado cracking. "If they take my family," he'd trail off, staring at the ceiling. Joseph held him through it, their lovemaking turning desperate, bodies a bulwark against the siege. "We'll fight," Joseph vowed, tracing the curve of Cameron's spine. Together, the climax brewed in November as election night loomed. Eliza, sensing vulnerability, extended an olive branch laced with thorns, a private jet to D.C. for a mother-son summit at the Hay-Adams. "One chance," her text read. "For old times." Joseph debated it over diner coffee, Cameron's hand a anchor across the Formica. "Go," Cameron urged finally. "End it on your terms. I'll be here." The flight was a tomb, clouds shrouding the Potomac like a shroud. Eliza met him in the hotel's gilded parlor, aged in the lamplight, lines etched deeper, her pantsuit a armor. Tea steamed between them, untouched. "You've cost me everything," she began, voice a scalpel. "Polls down 8 points. Donors fleeing. Because of your choices." "My choices." Joseph's laugh was bitter. You mean loving someone? Being honest. Her eyes narrowed. Honest? This delusion is destroying us. I've arranged a new program, discreet, in Utah. Electroconvulsive, if needed. You'll emerge renewed. My golden sun again. The room spun. You're erasing me. For votes. For survival. She slid a folder across. Consent forms, blurred with fine print. Sign, and it's over. Refuse, and I'll bury you both. Cameron's visa, revoked. Your name, slandered beyond repair. Betrayal bloomed full. A thorned rose. Joseph rose, chair scraping like a verdict. You built an empire on lies, Mom. But I won't be your casualty. He fled into the November chill, the city a blur of red brick row houses and fallen leaves. At Reagan National, his phone died mid-dial to Cameron, battery drained like his resolve. He boarded the last flight west, the cabin dark, his reflection in the window a stranger's. Resolute, finally free. Chicago's lights beckoned like a heartbeat. Cameron waited at O'Hare, poster in hand. Welcome home, golden rebel. They embraced amid the throng, strangers' cheers fading to white noise. In the taxi home, Joseph's head on Cameron's shoulder. He whispered, "It's done." But Eliza's shadow lingered. Dawn broke with a knock. Federal agents, badges gleaming. "Mr. Reyes, we need to talk about your immigration status." The raid unfolded like a bad procedural. Boots on the loft's hardwood. Flashlights carving shadows from Cameron's protest photos. Joseph, bleary-eyed in boxers and a faded Yale tee, shielded Cameron instinctively, heart hammering as Agent Ruiz, a stone-faced Latina with a manila folder, recited the charges. Visa overstay, suspected fraud in family sponsorship. Cameron's abuela, stateside on a green card Joseph had helped expedite, was collateral, her small Evanston bungalow now under audit. "This is bullshit," Cameron spat, voice raw from sleep. "I've got papers. Call my lawyer." Ruiz's partner, a burly guy named Kowalski, cuffed him with clinical efficiency. Senator Harlan's office flagged discrepancies. Courtesy of Homeland. Joseph's blood iced. Eliza striking from the beltway like a drone. He lunged forward, Ruiz's hand on her holster a warning. "He's innocent. This is retaliation. Take it up with ICE," she said, ushering Cameron out. The door clicked shut, leaving Joseph in a vacuum, air thick with the ghost of last night's takeout and the echo of Cameron's "I love you" from bed. He paced for hours, phone glued to his ear. Lawyers, activists, even a panicked call to his father, who demurred with "politics is dirty, son." By noon, Free Cameron trended. Cameron's colleagues at The Intercept amplifying the story. Harlan Ayre's lover detained. Political persecution? Protests swelled outside the Dirksen Federal Building. Rainbow flags whipping in the wind. Eliza's response was a masterstroke of deflection. A Sunday morning interview on Face the Nation. Her voice honey over gravel. "Immigration is a crisis we must address humanely. My heart goes out to those caught in the system." No mention of Joseph. Cameron erasure perfected. Joseph drove to the detention center in Broadview, a concrete fortress ringed by razor wire. Visiting hours were a farce. Plexiglass divider, monitored line, Cameron's face gaunt but defiant through the glass. "They grilled me all night. Abuela's paperwork. My activist ties. Sir, Joe. She's weaponizing the state." Joseph pressed his palm to the barrier, willing it to dissolve. I'll fix this. Petitions. Media. Cameron shook his head, curls matted. Don't martyr yourself. Get out while you can. No. Joseph's voice broke. We're endgame. Nights blurred into a vigil. Joseph's apartment a war room of laptops and takeout boxes, allies from GLAAD and ACLU converging. He testified remotely for a Senate hearing on conversion therapy bans, his voice steady as he eviscerated Ellis's science. They don't fix you. They fracture what's left. Clips went viral. Eliza's allies squirming as her golden sun morphed into a thorn. But the strain etched deep. Sleepless, Joseph dreamed of the clinic straps on wrists, Ellis's monotone droning prayers. He'd wake gasping, Cameron's absence a hollow in the bed. Friends urged therapy, real kind, a soft-spoken counselor at Howard Brown named Mia, who unpacked the trauma with gentle probes. Your mother's love was conditional, she said one rainy afternoon. But yours doesn't have to be. Thanksgiving loomed, a farce without Cameron. Joseph flew solo to Chicago's detainment holiday program, a sterile cafeteria of turkey and suspicion. Cameron, thinner but unbroken, squeezed his hand through the partition. Tell me something good. Joseph leaned close, voice a conspirator's. When this ends, we're road-tripping Route 66. Tacos in Tucumcari, motels with neon signs. No senators, no spotlights. Cameron's smile cracked the glass. Deal. But only if you sing along to Springsteen. December's hearings dragged. Immigration judges in wood-paneled courtrooms. Eliza's proxies filing motions to complicate. Joseph's public pleas, op-eds in the New York Times, tearful CNN spots humanized the fight. This isn't policy, he'd say, eyes locking the lens. It's my family. Betrayal's second wave crashed at Christmas. An envelope arrived at the loft courier, unmarked. Inside, a check for $500,000, scrawled for your future. Walk away. E.H. And a photo, him and Cameron at Navy Pier. Candid, damning. Pin note, publish this, and he deports tomorrow. Joseph burned it in the sink. Flames licking the porcelain, tears hissing on the heat. He called Mia that night, voice unraveling. She wants to buy my silence. Like I'm still her puppet. You're not, Mia soothed. But grief isn't linear. Mourn the mother you wanted, then build with the one you have. Cameron's release came January 6, 2026. A blizzard-whipped miracle. Judge ruling insufficient evidence amid mounting public pressure. Joseph waited at the gates, snow veiling his lashes. Cameron emerging in an orange jumpsuit traded for jeans and a peacoat. They collided in a heap, laughter and sobs mingling with the wind. Missed you, Cameron gasped, burying in Joseph's neck. Home was sacrament. Baths drawn with Epsom salts, bodies rediscovering rhythms. Never again, Joseph murmured, tracing freckles on Cameron's chest. No more cages, but Eliza's empire teetered. Midterm losses rippled, her seat vulnerable, donors defecting to flashier moderates. Whispers of resignation circled, her legacy a punchline, the senator who lost her son. February thawed into fragile normalcy. Joseph and Cameron hosted a housewarming, delayed, intimate. Rainbow lanterns strung across the loft, tamales from Cameron's abuela, who eyed Joseph with wary warmth. You fight good. Me, Joe, she said, patting his cheek. Toasts rang, to survival, to love unbowed. Yet undercurrents stirred. A late-night call from Margaret. She's breaking, Joseph. Stroke scare last week. Asks for you. He hung up, staring at the skyline. Cameron stirred beside him. Go if you need to. I do. Joseph's kiss was fierce. But on my terms. The drive to D.C. was a pilgrimage, highways unspooling like veins. The McLean estate loomed, icicles dripping from eaves like frozen tears. Eliza in bed, monitors beeping softly, her once iron frame shrunken under quilts. Golden boy, she rasped, hand extended. Not quite an apology, but a crack. I came to say goodbye, Joseph said, sitting. Not to your terms. Mine, her eyes, milky now, searched his. I thought. Protecting you. From myself. He took her hand, cool and bird-boned. Love isn't a threat, Mom. It's the only legacy worth leaving. She wept then, silent, shoulders shaking. No words of absolution, but in the hush, a bridge, tentative, human. Spring 2026 bloomed defiant in D.C. Cherry blossoms a pink riot along the tidal basin, mocking the winter's wreckage. Joseph returned changed, not mended, but annealed, his edges honed sharp. Cameron stayed in Chicago. Their goodbyes at O'Hare a vow renewed. Video calls at dawn. Weekends stolen like contraband. Build the bridge, Cameron urged. But don't cross alone. Joseph's return to the Hill was no homecoming. Old colleagues averted eyes in elevators. Whispers trailing like smoke. The prodigal's back. Trouble? He leveraged the buzz. Landing a fellowship at the Wilson Center. Penning reports on LGBTQ plus policy equity that cited Eliza's own bills as cautionary tales. Invites trickled. Queer brunches at busboys and poets. Panels at human rights campaign galas. There, amid fairy lights and fierce hugs, he found tribe men like him, scarred but soaring. Eliza's recovery was a slow burn. Rehab in Bethesda, then homebound with nurses and newspapers that vilified her. Joseph visited weekly. The estate's grandeur faded. Dust on the Steinway. Aides whispering of staff cuts. Conversations skirted the abyss. Whether her memoir draft until one April afternoon. Tulips nodding outside. She broached it. I read your piece. On reparative harm. Joseph paused. Teacup midway. And, prideful woman. Me. Wrong. Too. Her voice cracked. Fisher. Forgive? Not yet. Understand. He nodded. Throat tight. Working on it. Cameron's visits bridged the miles. May. They walked the mall hand in hand. Defiant in daylight. Tourists snapping pics that trended. Harlan's son. Unchained. Eliza saw it on CNN. Her call terse. Bold. Reckless. Free, Joseph corrected. June's pride unfurled rainbow rivers through DuPont Circle. Joseph marched. Cameron's arm linked. Signs aloft. Golden no more, queer forever. Chants thundered. Drums pulsed like heartbeats. At the stage, Joseph spoke unscripted. I was my mother's mirror until I shattered it. Love rebuilt me. Let it rebuild you. The crowd roared. Eliza watching from her TV. Remote clutched white-knuckled. Betrayals echo lingered in subtler forms. Richard Harlan, sensing opportunity, emailed overtures. board seats at his firm, neutral ground for family healing. Joseph forwarded it to Cameron with a single emoji. Eye roll. Snake oil, Cameron replied. But the pull tugged Legacy's ghost. July heat wave smothered the city, air conditioners humming dirges. Cameron flew in for a conference. Their nights a reclaiming. Rooftop bars in U Street, bodies slick under summer stars. Marry me, Cameron murmured post-love, sweat-damp sheets tangling. Joseph's breath caught. Yes. God. Yes. The proposal crystallized resolve. They planned small city hall, then a reception in Chicago with Abuela's blessings. Invites went out, queer icons, policy wonks, pointedly none from Harlan blood. But Eliza's card arrived unbidden. Creamstock, embossed. Proud of your courage. May I attend? Joseph stared at it over breakfast, Cameron's foot nudging his under the table. Your call. Forgiveness isn't erasure, Joseph said finally. But witness. August's dog days brought the wedding whirlwind. Suits tailored, navy for Joseph, emerald for Cameron, vows etched on napkins during fittings. Rehearsal dinner at a Georgetown bistro, toasts laced with inside jokes. To the man who photographed my soul, Cameron said, glass raised. Joseph's reply, and captured my heart. Ceremony dawned crisp. Lincoln Memorial backdrop. Potomac shimmering witness. 50 guests. Rainbows pinned to lapels. Abuela walked Cameron, her rosary clicking prayers. Vows exchanged under an arbor of magnolias. Joseph's voice steady. In shadows, you were light, Cameron's tear choked. Forever my frame, my focus. Eliza arrived late, solitary in the back row, pantsuit crisp but eyes shadowed. She clapped politely, then slipped away before cake. Joseph's text later, thank you for coming. Reply, wouldn't miss my golden son's day. Fall gilded the edges. Honeymoon in Big Sur, clifftop hikes. Waves crashing anthems returned them tanned and tangled. Joseph's Wilson tenure bloomed into a book deal, shattered gold, a son's reckoning with power and pride. Excerpts in The Atlantic drew fire, conservatives decrying family betrayal, but sales soared, proceeds to conversion survivor funds. Cameron's expose dropped October, The Harlan Files, How One Senator Weaponized the State. Sourced from leaks, Joseph's anonymous tips. It detailed the ICE ploy, therapy referrals, donor blacklists. Fallout quaked, congressional probes, Eliza's resignation announcement, to focus on health and family. Her exit presser was vintage, poised on the Capitol steps, autumn leaves swirling. Service is sacrifice. I've given mine, off mic, to Joseph in the wings. Your book. Fair. Painful, but fair. He hugged her then, first in years, her frame frail against his. Write your truth, Mom. I'll read it. November elections swept clean. Eliza's seat flipped blue, a progressive firebrand winning on equity waves. Joseph and Cameron, back in Chicago, watched from their couch, newly adopted mutt curled between, popcorn scattering as cheers erupted. Winter's hush settled. Holidays split. Christmas Eve with Abuela's posada, lights twinkling on piñatas. Day with Eliza in McLean, a thawing dinner of turkey and tentative tales. Cameron, good man, she conceded, passing pie. He nodded. He is. New Year's Eve. Logan Square fireworks boomed. On the roof, champagne flutes clinking, Cameron pulled Joseph close. 1 year down. Infinite to go. Joseph kissed him. City sprawl a canvas below. From golden sun to this, worth every shatter. But humanism's arc bends slow. Eliza's memoir hit shelves spring 2027. Iron Will, A Life in Service. Chapter 12, My Son's Path. A mea culpa veiled in caveats, praising Joseph's bravery while lamenting lost potential. Reviews split, redemption or revisionism. Joseph penned a response in the Washington Post. Truth isn't transactional. She sees me now, not fully, but enough. That's the start. Summer found them road tripping as promised. Route 60 SIXS ghosts, diners in Gallup, motels in Amarillo. One neon night in Oklahoma, under a harvest moon, Joseph pulled over. Remember Chicago? That bar. Cameron grinned. How could I forget? This? Joseph swept an arm to stars. Highway hum. Is us. Unscripted. Fall brought news. Eliza's diagnosis. Early pancreatic. Aggressive. Joseph flew east. Cameron in tow. Hospital room sterile. Her humor wry. Fate's last joke me. Felled by sweets. They talked hours. Regrets aired like laundry. Love's fractures mended with thread. I was afraid, she whispered, hand in his, of losing you to a world that chews dreamers. You almost did, he said softly. But love, it endures. She passed October 31st. All Hallows quiet. Funeral state affair. Eulogies lauding her steel, but Joseph's private. Scattering ashes at Arlington. Cameron beside. Wind whispering absolution. Winter 2027 wrapped Chicago in crystalline hush. The lake a frozen mirror reflecting Joseph's quiet grief. Eliza's absence was a hollow, not jagged, mourned in fragments. Her scrawled notes in old files, the way she'd hum show tunes off-key. Cameron anchored him, their loft a sanctuary of rituals. Sunday pozole with abuela. Midnight runs along the lakefront where breath clouds mingled like secrets shared. Joseph's book tour launched January. Coasts to Heartland. Audiences hungry for the Harlan unvarnished. Q and as turned confessional. Betrayal? It was her fear. My cage. We both broke free. Signings ended in hugs from survivors. Your story saved me. A bomb deeper than royalties. Spring greened the city, their life rooting deeper. Cameron's solo exhibit at the MCA. Frames of defiance, portraits of queer icons. Joseph central. Eyes fierce, scars subtle. Opening night, gallery buzzing, abuela beaming. My nietos, artists of the heart. Joseph proposed expansion, foster care certification. Kids like I was hidden, hurting. We can be that light. Nights poring over trainings. Cameron's sketches of future nurseries taped to the fridge. June pride amplified. Joseph's keynote at the parade. Float bedecked in gold lame. Ironic nod to origins. From gilded lies to rainbow truths, he thundered. Cameron's hand in his. Crowd a sea of affirmation. That night, rooftop after party, they danced to Madonna, sweat slick and alive. July heat simmered scandals anew. Richard Harlan indicted, insider trading, Eliza's old firm implicated. His call from Rikers, help me, son. For her, Joseph visited once. Fluorescent buzz underscoring finality. You chose walls. We choose windows. Door clanged shut. Chain unbroken. August's lethargy birthed creation. Joseph's second book, Co-authored with Cameron, captured light, love in the lens. Interwoven essays and photos, their Chicago nights, D.C. dawns, Route 66 sunsets. Publisher's buzz, a queer American odyssey. Fall harvest yielded bounty. Placement call September. Toddler twins, Mateo and Sophia, brown-eyed, wary from foster churn. First day's chaos, spilled Cheerios, midnight wails. But Cameron's lullabies in Spanish, Joseph's bedtime tales of brave senators turned daddies, wove bonds. Abuela's visits, tamales and wisdom. Family isn't blood. It's choice. Halloween frolic. Pumpkins carved politicians, squinting Eliza, smirking Richard. Kids in capes, laughter echoing the loft once hollow. Thanksgiving sprawled, table groaning pozole, turkey, pie. Toasts to ghosts, Elias's chair empty but spirit present. Joseph's words, she taught fight. You taught love. Together, unstoppable. Winter solstice brought closure. Joseph's pilgrimage, Yale, the library corral where it sparked. Snow blanketing quads. He texted Cameron, full circle. Reply photo, twins building forts. Cameron winking. Our circle now. New Year's 2028 dawned electric. Michigan Avenue countdown. Family bundled, kids on shoulders. Abuela's scarf fluttering. Ball dropped. Cheers erupted. Joseph pulled Cameron close amid confetti storm. 10 years from now? More books. More miles. You. Me. Chaos. Cameron's kiss sealed it. Fireworks bursting overhead. But humanism whispers. Scars fade. Not vanish. Nightmares crept. Ellis's voice. Eliza's slap, but therapy with Mia. Now friend. Unpacked them. You're the author now, she'd say. Spring 2028. Twins adoption finalized. Courtroom tears and judges gavel a benediction. Party at the loft. Balloons. Cake. Queer kin toasting Harlan Reyes forever. Cameron's TED Talk summer. Photographing the invisible Joseph in front row. Pride swelling. Viral ripples. School invites. Policy shifts. Fall elections. Joseph's run for Illinois State Senate. Progressive firebrand. Harlan name reclaimed. Campaign trail grueling debates. Door knocks, but Cameron signs. Kids cheers fueled. When night November. Ballroom roar. Confetti avalanche. Victory speech. From erasure to embrace. This is our America. Winter wrapped them. Family ski trip to Aspen. Tumbles in powder. Hot cocoa toast. One eve. Fire crackling. Joseph to Cameron. Golden son? Nah. Just husband. Father. Man. Cameron smiled. Embers glowing. My favorite frame. Years unspooled. Books to bestsellers. Twins to teens. Mateo activist. Sophia artist. Abuela's 90th. Stories swapped. Hands clasped. Eliza's grave. Annual visit. Wildflowers laid. We made it, Mom. Humanly. 50. Joseph reflected. Betrayals forge birthed this, love's alchemy. Cameron. Silver-threaded curls. Still his horizon. Regrets. None. Joseph's hand in his. Only gratitude. In America's vast tapestry. Marble halls to lakefront lofts. They wove golden threads anew. Not inherited, but earned. Human. Flawed. Eternal.